but I don't know if they still do it now in amateur boxing, but they used to go as a spare. So basically you go along to watch your mates who's fighting.
Yeah.
And you weren't down to fight. But whenever we got weighed in, if there's somebody your weight, you'd end up fighting. It was at Scarborough, right on the seafront. And I remember they said, somebody your weight. I was like, no, there's not. Like, somebody your weight, you're fighting. And I remember thinking, shit. I was, like I said, I had no confidence back then. And you know it's for real. And then when that head guard goes on, it's like,
no turning
shit,
back
no
now.
turning back. I genuinely just thought, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You absolute idiot. And even in the ring, you're looking across at the man that you're fighting and you're thinking, what are you doing? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I remember thinking that.
And was your
but
opponent...
I'd go through and I'd do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I lost my first 8 amateur fights.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 6, I believe it is, of Visionary Academy. Today I've got a very exciting guest in the building today. He is ex-professional boxer and also a bit of an entrepreneur. He owns his own boxing gym and is a professional coach and trainer, Mr. David Coldwell. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Pleased to be here.
Amazing. Good to have you here. Have you travelled far today?
About 50 minutes. About
50 minutes, not too bad then.
Not too bad.
Not too far. So tell us a bit about yourself for those viewers who may not know much about you.
So I'm a professional boxing coach. I'm also a professional boxing manager as well, and Sky Sports pundit and commentator for their boxing network. Amazing.
And how are you finding that at the moment?
I love it. Living the dream, basically.
Yeah.
You know? It's something that I threw myself at. From 15 years old, I threw myself into boxing, and you know, I'm about to be 49, so I've had a good run at it, and
still young, by the way.
Yeah, I feel. Listen, I'm not even messing. I'm about to be 49. I feel better than ever I've done in my life.
Amazing.
I think just being consistent with what you do throughout the years. You know, age for me is just a label that people like to put on. You know, to count down the sands of time sort of thing. I don't buy into it. I'm all about how you feel.
You're as young as you feel. Exactly.
Yeah, how you feel, how you look after yourself. I think you will always get the best out of yourself if you treat your body the right way. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm not really bothered about age.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm 27, and you know, some people even say to me that I'm getting older. But like, as crazy as that may sound, but you know, you're as young as you feel. I completely agree with that. You know, so going back to the beginning, tell us a little bit about obviously your upbringing, how you got into doing professional boxing, what life was like at school, all that great stuff.
Oh, I don't know about it being great stuff. So my dad's English, my mum is Indian, or was. I was born in Calcutta, and I came over when I was about 1-2 years old. And basically growing up back then, it was different. Growing up in the schools, I remember junior school was fine. It was cool. Everybody loves each other in junior schools back then. And then going into the comp, there was 1,500 kids. And that was tough. That was a tough time because I think there was, if I remember rightly, there was one other Asian girl my year, and then there was a black kid my year. Notice how I said A. And then 2 or 3 years older, there was another Asian boy. That was it. And comprehensive school was tough on that side of things. At that stage, we had nothing. My dad wasn't working, so I was we were skint. And I went to school with like hand-me-down clothes, trousers that people used to take the piss out, saying, you know, as your cat died because your trousers are half-mast and stuff like that. That was kind of like the norm. and yeah, as it progressed, I just used to get bashed up at school.
Yeah.
So it was a rough childhood. I can
Kids can
smile
be
about it
cruel though.
now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can smile
Yeah.
about it now and look back and kind of like I'm not really bothered about it because it made me what I am now. But
Do you
yeah,
feel like that experience at school like toughened you up in a way and made
it's
you a bit more?
what I would say is it's not that toughens you up. It's coming through it that toughens you up. Whenever I feel that whenever you have adversity, um, during that moment, it's not, you don't feel tough. You
Yeah.
know, I felt very very weak. I had issues at home with my mum. Me and my mum didn't get on. Both my parents were alcoholics. Obviously, I didn't know that until I got a little bit older. But you don't put label at that. But again, but kids these days, it's like my little boy. He's 12 years old. He's aware of everything. He
Yeah.
understands everything. But back then, when you was young, you was young.
Yeah.
You know, a lot less educated into the real world problems.
Without technology and
Yeah,
things like that, of
yeah.
course. Yeah.
And I remember when I kind of found out there was this is strange. Was when my mum went away for a few months and it was just me and my dad in the house. And I remember going their bedroom was in the attic, and as you go up the attic, you can kind of like see underneath the bed. And I just saw loads of bottles, and I thought, and they were all empty bottles of Bell Scotch whiskey. And teacher's whiskey, just loads of empty bottles, and you'd find them everywhere. So that's when I was first really aware that that's alcohol.
That was
that's
happening.
A problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going through all that sort of stuff was very very tough because of that. You know, that probably affected how my mum was, and you know my mum used to basically kick the shit out of me. So I'd have it at school and I'd have it at home. So I didn't really have a place to get away from it until I started boxing at 15. And when I started boxing at 15, then that became my... It's hard to put a label on, but that became my environment where I could kind of like forget the problems, forget all the shit that was going off in my daily life. And that was a place that I just wanted to be at, spend all my time at, and just, you know, after I'd finished training, I'd just stay behind and watch. Back then it was like Naz and Johnny Nelson and people. I'd just stay behind and watch them train and go in early and, you know, watch whoever was training there. Just spend as much time as I can in the gym. So then you know, that's your happy place, so to speak.
Yeah. And did you feel inspired when watching some of the guys in the ring and you know, taking mental notes for yourself one day? I imagine.
You dream, don't you? When you're a kid, you dream. I mean, I was 15 when I started, and I say to my fighters, I say to people now, as adults, we tend to forget to dream, because we're that occupied with real world problems. You forget to dream. You forget to pretend. You know, big thing is as well in sport. When you was a kid. So when I was a younger kid, junior school and whatever, I was mad on football. That's what I did. I played football all the time, and so my heroes then was like people like Diego Maradona.
Yeah.
And Maradona was little, and I was little. Surprise, I still am. And what I would do is I would pretend to be Diego Maradona. So your mind goes to being, and you don't think I'm going to it. You just do. You just play it in your head what he does, and you just do it. And it's the same as when you box, and same as when you're younger, you pretend to be other people. And I think that bit of escapism kind of like brings, especially if you study people, if you study fighters, if you study football or whatever it is you choose to be, and then you kind of like put your mind as though you're them, you kind of like get to flow a little better.
Yeah.
And so I would be like that, and in that gym I would just watch and study and then pretend to be them on the bags and try to be them. You know what I mean? And then you mold your own sort of personality, your own sort of style. But yeah, that I loved that environment.
Amazing. And obviously, who was some of your biggest inspirations at the time when growing up? Did you follow boxing much at that age, or was you?
Well, before I started, I wanted to start boxing when I was about 10. Like Mike Tyson, I used to get up in the middle of the night and watch this wrecking ball go through people, and you'd get up and the fight would last like a round, and then you'd go back to bed. But Sugar Ray Leonard as well. But when I got to the gym, like there was at the time there was Bomber Graham, Johnny Nelson, Naz was coming through. Johnny Nelson, who's funny enough, at the time he wasn't one of he was more known for a horrible draw that he had, where everyone just switched off him, and then I saw the adversities that Johnny went through.
Yeah.
I was there when he was British champion, I think, for the first time when he was young, and then the hardships that he went through when results didn't go his way, how people switch off at you and turn off you, and you see the harsh worlds of the harsh reality of sport, where when you're doing well, everybody's your pal, and when you're not, everybody turns off you.
Yeah.
So I watched Johnny come through and go through what he did, but he was my kind of inspiration because his personality was more like mine rather than the success of somebody like Naz, who just flew straight up as a superstar.
Yeah.
That was the one that you'd aspire to be, and you'd be like, that is just an amazing person to have in the gym. But the more realistic sort of goal for me was Johnny. So I would literally follow Johnny around the ring. He'd do his pull-ups, press-ups, dips, and I'd just follow him around and doing the same things. I'd just copy him, and I always wanted to be like him, where he came through successful after he went through all the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'd gone through the hard stuff and not being very good, and things like that, and people taking a piss out of you because you lose and things. I wanted to be like him and come through the other end. And the funny thing is that as we've got older, we've stayed friends, and as we've got older, I've ended up like following him into TV, and I work alongside him at Sky Sports.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's nice, and it's
it's nice that you've kept a friendship for so long as well.
But that following, still having that role model, and still following him as he's got older, and still kind of like trying to move toward doing similar things to what him. It's mad how it's just worked out.
Yeah, exactly. No, I can imagine. Was there any other influences that inspired you to want to get into boxing, I suppose?
In terms of boxing, no. I mean, like I said, up until 15, so I was mad football, and my thing was football then. But then once I got into boxing, Nigel Benn, I absolutely loved Nigel Benn. But it wasn't so much. It was more the American fighters that I used to get. Back then it was VHS tapes.
There were a lot of American fighters back then as well.
It was videotapes, and I used to order tapes of Roy Jones, Felix Trinidad, Fernando Vargas, Floyd Mayweather when he was coming through back then. He was still young then. Them sort of fighters, I'd order big, like, they were box sets basically, and they were just all on one videotape or two videotape, and it just have the create like as much footage maybe from the debuts all the way through as the world champions. And I used to order them and just spend countless hours watching those over and over again.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So you said you did football as well. Tell us a little bit about that. How was you as a football player?
I was decent. I was all right. Yeah, I was. Listen, everybody says they can play football, but I still carried on playing football until into I still do bits now, but I was playing regular like Monday night and Wednesday night football with 18, 20-year-olds when I was like 40 up to I was 40. Once my little boy started training in Leeds, so it's later than 40 really, in Leeds, where he's training nights would be Monday nights, then that canned me football. So I was still playing, and I'm still and I'll still play with him and whatever. But I've always loved football. That's like
alongside boxing. That was
but
the other
football
sport.
was the one that I really, really loved. Boxing I kind of fell into because I got bullied, because it got to a point where I was like 15. I was like, it's all right, this happening now, but I remember the kids in metalwork, they locked me into like a thin metal cupboard, and it was backless, but it had little bars going across, and they were just throwing paper towels in the back of it, and I'm stuck in this little little
Yeah.
sheet cupboard.
Kids can be cruel,
And
you know,
then
at
they
that
just
age.
set fire at it.
Yeah.
And so I got fire at my feet in this cupboard, and I was like, it got to that point where you just think, well, it's all right while you're a kid, but what happens when you get older and you've got your kid yourself?
Yeah.
And are you going to be scared and intimidated everybody? Because that's how I was. So that's why I started boxing. And so then when I got into that, I'm the kind of person, and I've got the kind of personality where when I want to do something, I throw everything at it. And that's where the focus shifted really from football to throwing everything into boxing, and that's how it's been.
Yeah. So what was it like training for boxing? Like your first fight and everything?
I love the training. I still train now. You know, I'm always training now. I just
Do you
fell
have
in
like
love.
a schedule of what you do each day, or
What, when I was fighting or now?
when you was fighting?
Yeah, when I was fighting, yeah, down at the Ingle gym, you'd come in, you do your footwork, you do your bag work. If you get on the pads, you get on the pads and you spar and repeat every day. And it was just the environment of the gym, the personalities, the banter, everything. I loved everything about it.
Amazing.
And you know, like I said, everybody that's boxed and knows no matter what level you boxed at, they'll understand when boxing grips hold of you, then there's that adrenaline. There's nothing like it. It keeps hold of you, you know, and it doesn't matter what sort of stuff that's going off in your day. When you walk through the gym, you kind of forget that, and your mind's straight in the gym, and you just focus on that.
Switch off, and you're in that zone. Then you know.
Yeah.
So can you remember your first ever fight?
Yeah.
Like the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, all that.
Shit myself.
Yeah, I can imagine. First ever fight, the nerves are high, you know. And who you was fighting as well.
I was an amateur. I don't know if they still do it now in amateur boxing, but they used to go as a spare. So basically, you go along to watch your mates who's fighting.
Yeah.
And you weren't down to fight, but whenever we got weighed in, if there's somebody your weight, you'd end up fighting. And I went as a spare a couple of times, never got a fight. Went as a spare. This next time it was at Scarborough, right on the seafront, and I remember they said, somebody your weight. I was like, no, there's not. Like, somebody your weight, you're fighting. And I remember thinking, shit. I was, like I said, I had no confidence back then. I had like zero confidence. It was horrendous. And I was so nervous. I was so scared, like fear. I remember when they put the gloves on.
The feel and everything,
I remember the feeling. Putting the hand in the gloves, and you know it's for real. And then when that head guard goes on, it's like
no turning back now.
Yeah, I was really, really, really nervous.
And what was going through your mind in that moment?
And it went through my mind through the majority of my fights. When you get bashed up and when you allow people to intimidate you, literally every day of your life, then you find yourself walking to the ring, or I did, and I'm thinking, Dave, what are you doing? You're gonna get battered, and you can't be a boxer thinking that.
Yeah,
you just can't. You can't be a successful boxer thinking that, because you need to think that you need to believe that you're gonna win.
Yeah, and you're gonna beat your opponent.
Also think that in the majority of things in life, I also definitely in everything that I've ever accomplished, you have to believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
But back then I didn't, and back then I was that scarred and that ruined from what I went through, that I genuinely just thought, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You absolute idiot. And even in the ring, you're looking across at the man that you're fighting and you're thinking, what are you doing? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I remember thinking that.
And was your
but
opponent...
I'd go through and I'd do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I lost my first 8 amateur fights. You don't understand. Like, people like to mock shit like that. I don't care. I'm a coach. And
Yeah.
I deal with people that have insecurities, and I deal with people that have doubts. And not every fight, and just because you see confident fighters on TV and stuff, doesn't mean that they don't have doubts. Doesn't mean that they don't have insecurities about themselves. Everyday life, you see people on the street, TV, whatever. They look confident. They say everybody's got insecurities, and
Yeah.
everybody's got doubts about themselves in certain passages of their life. You have to be able to understand the bad shit as well as just being patting somebody on the back and saying, "Oh, you're brilliant, you're great."
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
have to be able to understand what they're going through. So I don't mind saying, yes, I was shit, and yes, I struggled with confidence, and I didn't believe myself, and I was scared, because it's not. It's like I'm a dad. There's periods in my kids' lives with what they do where they're going to be nervous, they're going to be scared. But if you think you're only one, it makes it worse. But if you actually think, well, actually, it's quite normal to be nervous.
Of course.
I'm about to go on stage and perform. It's quite normal to be nervous.
Yeah.
But if you're saying to them, what are you nervous about? What are you scared about? There's nothing to be nervous about. That doesn't relate to what's going on in their brain.
Exactly.
And if anything, that's going to make them feel more on edge and uncomfortable, because then they're going to feel, well, is it just me? But if you understand that this is quite a normal process to go through, but if you want to be successful, you have to kind of control that, understand it, and then rationalize it, and then you'll always find an answer.
Yeah.
And once you just, it's like we always say, yes, you will be nervous, but when the bell goes, or the first shot that either you throw or they throw, you don't feel the nerves.
Yeah.
It kind of like lifts away from you.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. But when you're going through it, you feel as though you feel embarrassed. You feel as though like you're in your own little world.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be boxing. It can be anything. Players can freeze on a big match. You know, a singer can be absolutely amazing, go out on stage and just freeze.
Or forget the lyrics
forget
or
the
anything.
lyrics,
Yeah.
And so it's quite normal, but it's this where we kind of like alienate people for feeling those sort of ways.
Yeah.
So I don't mind admitting how I felt, because I came through that, and all that I went through and how I was has built the mind that I've got now.
Yeah.
And the mind that I've got now, I'll be honest with you, the mind that I've got now is the shit that I have to deal with and I go through. Is pretty strong.
Yeah.
So
and does that stem back to your past?
100%. Because if I didn't go through that, then it wouldn't be like it is now. You
won't be the person you are today.
I feel that you have to go through difficult situations in order to keep building the endurance that you've got.
Yeah.
You know? If you have it easy all the time,
you're never going to learn.
Then that first bit of discomfort, that first bit of adversity, you know, if you have it at the most critical moment, you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And obviously you said you've won some matches, lost some matches, and that's all. That's being human, you know. You can't win every single match. No. That's just impossible, you know.
Well, unless
not many. Yeah, of course. But for most professional boxers, that isn't always the case, and you kind of in the boxing world, you're kind of slated for that if you lose, and it sticks with you, or people want it to stick with you, and it destroys your self-confidence, and then you know you can't perform as well in another match, and it really gets to you, you know.
And that's allowing other people's opinions to dictate what goes in your head.
Exactly.
And that's something that I used to do all the time.
Yeah. Whereas now you can control your mind mentally, you know, to block all that noise out.
I just feel that you can't control what other people think of you.
Yeah.
So why worry about it?
Exactly.
And really, I'm at a stage in life where I've got my family, I've got my kids and my missus. As long as their opinion of me is a positive light, it really doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Yeah.
You know, the fighters that I work with, as long as they're happy with what I'm doing and what we're doing, really doesn't matter what Joe off of Twitter or whatever decides to say. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, it's like, it's very difficult in this world where I think our generation is the is a kind of first generation where they're having to deal with the pressures of social media, because back then it was like a newspaper,
Yeah.
and if you made it into newspapers, then people knew whether you was good or bad,
Yeah.
and if you didn't, then not a lot of noise was about it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now it's like spreads like wildfire,
Yeah.
and everybody, and there's people, you're getting slated by somebody in Singapore or somebody in America or whatever like that. It's like, what?
So you can't ever
So
switch
you
off
can't
from
switch
it.
off. But that's where if you value what other people's opinions are of you, you are going to get screwed up by social media, because that will keep flip-flopping your moods when you look at your phone.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to handle how that is.
Be mentally tough.
And we get heat all the time, and slated all the time. And it's like, whether it's if you're commentating or doing punditry, and just because you have an opinion and you say this, you think this man will win because of this, you're slated personally. And it's like, what? Oh, how can you think that? You're out. It's like, hang on a minute, it's only an opinion.
You can't have an opinion anymore. That's the thing,
so, But again, that's it can only affect you if you
allow
value
it to
everybody else's opinion, and it means that much to you. And that's where I think you've got to have a more of an understanding and a self-worth, where you know what you're about, you're happy with your own thoughts and what your own opinions on things are, and you don't
that's all that matters.
You don't let other people kind of like
influence that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No, I completely agree. So from boxing, what made you want to get into doing training?
It's not that I wanted to get into it. It's just kind of like a natural progression sort of thing. I was still fighting, and Brendan Ingle was my coach. He set up a second gym, and he asked me would I run it. So I started training fighters and training kids, and turning into amateur boxers, and then they turned into professionals, and then I ended up getting my own gym. And that was it. It was in 2000 that I got my own gym.
Yeah.
The first gym that I had, and then that was it. And then I ended up managing fighters. From 2002, I started promoting shows.
How was the promotion side of things?
Great. But
was you confident doing that? Because
yeah,
as a promoter, you have to, I guess.
Yeah, by that stage, I mean, I wasn't what I am now, but I was a lot more confident in what I was doing. I've been in the game, quite a long time then.
And boxing helped with that, I imagine.
Yeah, I've been in the game over a decade then, and I just ran with it. And it's not my favourite job that I've had in boxing, because it's the business end. I don't know, on the business side, it's not great.
It's a different world, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. In boxing, there's a lot of shit that goes off in the business end, and yeah. So the promoting side of things, I'm not. I did some big events, arenas. With working with Haymaker, I did the MEN arena, the O2 arena. So I've done a lot. But that's, the promoting side is not what I love. I love the coaching. I love the managing. I love plotting somebody's career and resurrecting this man's career, and everyone thinks he's written off, and then he ends up being a world champion. And I've enjoyed doing that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. And how was that transition for you from going from professional boxer to trainer? Was it something you was happy doing? Was it something you fell into naturally?
Like I said, I fell into it kind of, but through my own experiences, I mean, I won a Central Area title. I think I got to about number 6 in the country.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't. It wasn't. It's nothing that I'm proud of. It's nothing that I rate. But what it did do, it gave me a foundation and a well of experience, and experiencing a lot of things that you need to know what's going off in there when your fighter comes up, having those circumstances happen to them in their careers.
Yeah.
And that's what I found helped me. I started off I was just the bucket bucket man for we call it bucket. It's house seconds for the big shows where basically you put the stool in, hold the bucket, pray to God they don't spit at you, and they nail the bucket, and I start off doing that. So again, when people on social media want to call you a bucket boy and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I started off at that. I started at the very bottom.
Yeah, everyone's got to start somewhere.
You can't begrudge what I've done.
Yeah.
And where I'm at, and at 40, soon to be 49, because I started at the very, very bottom.
Yeah.
I started off shit as a boxer. I started off losing my first 8 amateur fights. How many people would still be carrying on after they lost the first 8 amateur fights when they're getting battered at school?
Yeah.
When they're getting battered at home, how many people would still have the mentality to still carry on and not give up? How many kids these days quit after they've lost a couple of times?
Oh, 100%.
You know,
I'm with you on
kids, whatever they're doing. Oh, it's not for me. Next thing. Next.
Yeah.
They can't crack it straight away. Next.
There's no consistency.
No. So nobody can like knock me for where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Because I've grafted my arse off, come through the shit, and then started off as a bucket boy, and then worked with journeymen. Now, for those that don't know, journeymen are the guys that are going to lose. That's it. They're not good, but they're not good enough to beat the prospects, the promoters, fighters. But they give them work, give them rounds, give them a tough fight for them to learn on. So you're traveling up to Scotland, to Edinburgh, to Aberdeen, to wherever, driving up, not getting put up in an hotel because you're at the bottom. So nobody, you've got no
to
value in
fund
the
everything
sport.
yourself.
So you're going all the way up there, coming all the way back after training for like 10, 12 weeks, and you're getting paid 80 quid.
Yeah.
So I've done all that. I've done all that.
Yeah.
So I don't feel any way about if anybody wants to say, oh, Uzi, what's he done this way? Because I've climbed through that. I've gone through that. It's not like I just got handed anything.
Yeah.
And then I've had success. And then with the success, I still work hard. I still do the exact same thing as what I do every day. I still love the sport. And here
you are today. Exactly. So it's been worth going through the bad to get to the good.
But I wouldn't have got to the good if I hadn't gone through the bad.
Exactly.
That's
You've got to chip away each moment until you get to where you are today. Life's a roller coaster. It's up and downs 100%. Constantly. And while we're on that subject as well.
What roller coasters?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Great.
But yeah, I guess my next question would sort of be, what have been some of your highs in boxing and some of your lows? Like best moments, worst moments, that kind of thing.
Yeah, worst moments.
And it could be either with yourself or with some of your fighters.
Worst moments, I'd have to say, being in a couple of fights as manager, promoter, where a couple of fighters got injured.
Yeah.
They're the worst moments. That's the worst feeling about, because it's boxing. We all know the risks.
Yeah.
But when it happens, it's like it's just it's heart wrenching. It's awful.
Because it'll take a toll on yourself as well, not just your fighters.
More importantly, it's the effect it has on them. And it's the worst thing in the world. Every kid gets into boxing with dreams. Some people just do it for business to make ends meet. But then if anyone gets injured or anything like that, that boxing's a hard sport, a brutal sport, but nobody has any intentions of hurting anybody. But when it does, then that's the worst. There's nothing that compares to that.
Yeah.
Just taking it down a level when you're in a big fight, you know what your fighters are dreaming about and what they work towards, and just don't make it.
Yeah.
That's devastating. That is devastating. But the highs are unbelievable high, from different sort of levels. I mean, I had Curtis Woodhouse, who's a footballer.
Yeah.
And took him to, managed him and I trained him, but took him to become British champion. And that was when he was coming through. I remember other coaches taking the piss, saying you got your work cut out trying to keep him winning when he'd lose, because he lost a couple of fights on the way through as well.
Yeah.
People writing him off and things, and then when he won the British title, that was his dream. That was what he he promised his dad on his deathbed
Yeah.
that he was going to become British champion.
Yeah.
When he turned professional, when he left football, we was all like, "You're mad, you! Everyone wants to be a football. What are you doing, switching from football to boxing?" But that was his dream.
Yeah.
And when he achieved his dream, that was like unreal. That's one of the highs. Ryan Rhodes, beating Jamie Moore was a massive fight. Going out to fight Canelo was massive. Jordan Gill winning the European title because we was very, very close. But I think what trumps everything, even Jamie McDonald going over to America and winning twice over there against their world champion. But what trumps everything has got to be Bellew winning the world title at Goodison Park. The whole atmosphere, the Everton fans, everything. That stadium was rocking, absolutely rocking.
I remember seeing that. Yeah,
that was unreal. And
just, that's a personal win for yourself.
Yeah. And, I ended up being. I was with Tony for the last 7 years of his career, and we just, it just meant everything. I'm close to his family. I remember his little boy was in the ring. His little boy now is about 6'5". It's mad. Do you know what I mean? And I'm still close with him. Bellew winning at Goodison Park was just outstanding. It really was unbelievable feeling. It's one of those where the split second when he hits him with a left hook and I just see McCabe's head just drop. I completely lost my shit.
Yeah.
That was it. I've just gone. And it was brilliant. But I'm fortunate to have had a lot of good nights, a lot of really, really good nights.
Yeah.
Some great nights, great fights. Walking out in front of 20,000 fans regularly at MEN or at the O2 and it's been boxing's taken me around the world. Right now I've got a prospect, Stephen Cairns. Last year we had fights in Uzbekistan, we had fights in Denmark.
Wow.
He's back in London in a couple of weeks now. So
all over the world.
But boxing takes you everywhere. We go on sparring trips over to America. It's a good life.
A lot of good moments. Yeah. And you're proud that you've got into the industry that you have. Looking back, you think it was worth all the bad to get to the good.
Listen, without boxing, I wouldn't.
Did you feel like it was something you was born to do? Always had a passion
I don't believe
for?
in that. No, I don't believe in that. I fell into it because if I'd had my way, I'd have been a footballer.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have been hammered at school and gone through what I did with my mum at home, then
you could have been somewhere else.
I would have been something else.
Yeah.
I only started boxing because I drew a line in the sand of getting tormented and terrified every day.
Yeah.
And so if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have got into boxing.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't regret anything. I'll take the beatings, I'll take everything that I went through, because if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have got into boxing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then I look at it, and when people say, "Oh, if you could turn back the clock, would you have been a world champion?" No, because if I'd have been successful as a fighter, then I probably wouldn't have been in a position where I ended up going to a place where I went to, where I met wife, and then I wouldn't have my kids.
Yeah.
And my kids and my family trumps everything I've ever done.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't
Your
change
biggest
anything.
accomplishment.
Yeah, my biggest accomplishment. It's the only thing that I'm ever proud of.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly proud of anything I've done in boxing or I'll never ever say I'm a good coach or I was a good manager. I would never ever say that. The only thing that in my life that I will say that I'm good at is I'm a good dad. Yeah. And I know I'm a good dad because of the relationship that I've got with my kids. How my kids are. The fact that my daughter's 19, she's a DJ, and she wants me to be at her sets. I'm going to Leeds later on tonight, so I'm going back home from Wakefield to come back to Leeds. But she wants me to do that. I'm nearly 49, and how many 19-year-old kids still want the middle-aged parents to be around them? And she wants myself and a mum around her and things. And she's
sounds like she's doing really well for herself.
She's doing great, but like I said, that to me that is the definition of success, because my kids want to be with me. They're not kids that go away, dad. Oh, my dad's right, man. It's none of that. So that's why I know I'm a good dad, and that's the only thing that I will say that I'm good at. I can't cook. I've done all right at boxing. nothing else what stands out in my life. But as a parent, I'll say, yeah, I'll take that one. I'm good.
Every day. Yeah.
Every day.
And what about your little boy? What does he do at the moment?
He's brilliant. His mentality, gotta say, he has got the best mentality I've ever come across. Honestly, my fighters love him. They love him being around. He goes on training camps with them. He's a footballer. He's on a residential. We just dropped him off yesterday in West Sussex, and it's a week football with Premiership coaches and stuff, and he's off on that. And it's the first time he's away from us, like for a week. And I've done it for him just to enjoy it, and develop it. But it's just the experience of being away on a football camp. It's like when I speak to my fighters like Hopi Price and Ellis and people like that, and they'll say when the first time they went away with England and things like that, you know, away from mum and dad with people that you don't know, you come back different. You know, you come back different.
And you believe he will.
Yeah, and he will 100%. It's like he rang me up earlier on, and he was saying he's just soaking it up, and you know, he's very, very coachable. He's very, very smart. He's doing great at school, but he's really good at football. But like I said, he'll on his holidays and stuff like that, he'll come to the gym. He'll be around my fighters. He's been on training camp. He's been in America with us. He's been to Dubai with us on training camp, and he lives like a fighter when he comes with us. He's that
exactly
sort of kid.
With the travelling as well.
But the food, the training, everything, does everything. But his mentality is unbelievable. He's very, very driven. He gets me up in the morning before he goes to school to do a bit of training.
Oh wow, that's
so
brilliant.
every day he gets me up in the morning.
How old is he as well?
He's 12.
12.
He's 12.
Wow.
He's like a little man. But everybody that meets him, whether it's footballers, whether it's boxers, they all like love him to bits because his attitude. He's like a little man. But then away from his football, he's still a kid. Loves his cuddlies and stuff like that. I still keep him as a little boy. But on when he's like footballing, he's a man basically. But he's very, very talented. So I'm really proud of them both because they're both smashing what they want to do.
Yeah.
The most important thing for me is that because in this day and age, not a lot of kids have got a passion for something. You say to a kid, majority of them now, what do you want to do when you grow up? Don't know.
Yeah, they're just shrugging no idea.
They ain't got a clue. You know, they just want to, meander through life and see what happens.
Yeah.
Whereas both my kids are very, very driven about what they want to do. She's always wanted to be in music, and she's producing, she's DJing. She's 19 years old, and he at 12 years old is literally living like a football. It's food and everything. He won't eat crap. He'll eat a certain meal, he'll eat certain pasta and chicken before his games and stuff like that. He's very, very like focused on what he wants to do.
So they got their own passions already.
And that's what I'm happy with. Whether or not, well, she is a DJ, that's what she does. But whether or not he makes it as a footballer, I'm not asked. I want it for him because he wants to. I've always said, like, whatever you want to do, I will support the best I can do. Yeah. If you turn around one day and say, Dad, I don't want to play football anymore, fine. Yeah. Because it's not, and he's very aware. I've had the conversation where, look, you're not playing football because your dad wants you to. You're not playing football because you need to. You don't need to do it. You whatever you want to do, go into. But he wants to be a footballer, and he's willing to work hard for it. So fair enough. And
do you give both your kids like good advice with the career paths or life advice, anything like that?
I've always been very, very open with them both. Always one of those where when people say the kids ask a million questions and they're like, oh, shut up. I've always answered. Yeah. I've always anchored. They're very.
So you never turn them away and like,
No, he's. This is why he can sit with adults. I'm off doing media, and he's talking to other media or whatever at shows just about boxing, about football. He can talk to them on a grown-up level, because he's always been around adults. He's always been spoken to, like, and given information and answered like an adult. So he asks a question, he gets an answer, not like ask me again, not just ignore him. Always used to answer. Yeah. Still do. So he's very, very intelligent, and he holds a conversation with adults, no problem. But that's because, you know, you're there. I've always been open. So
Yeah.
advice wise and things like that, yeah, I give him advice.
And do you feel like you're there for them more than what your parents were for you
Oh,
at the time?
yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
left home at 15.
Yeah.
I left home at 15 because our life was, you know,
Because it was very difficult for yourself.
yeah,
You want to give nothing but the world to your kids and give
100%,
them a different life to how you were
100%,
raised.
100%, without a doubt. This is why I don't get when it really, really boils me piss when you see on the news when there's a court report or something like that, and this, parents of, are getting done for how they've treated the kids, or worse, and then they say using it. It's almost like they're using an excuse. Or he was abused as a kid, or he was this. I'm like, what? That isn't an excuse, because you know how it feels. I know how it feels to have been treated like shit. So therefore, I would never, ever, ever want my kids to feel that same way.
Yeah.
You go the complete opposite. Complete opposite. So I don't buy stuff like that as an excuse. That tells you what not to do. I've learned how to be a dad, a parent, through what not to do.
Yeah.
Not by having a good role model. It's great when you've got a good role, because then you've got that foundation, you know what to do.
Yeah.
But also it can work the other way. So when you don't have that, and when you're around when your environment's wrong, and when people say you're a product of your environment, well, yeah, you are a product of your environment, but it doesn't mean that you have to fit in the same as that environment you're in.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? That same product can turn you into the opposite, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been. I've learnt by what not to do, really.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll become your parents.
No.
You know what I mean? It can
No.
go the other way, where you want to
Yeah.
try and work better and be better.
My parents weren't. I remember when I was playing football, everybody's mums and dads would be on side at pitch, and I'd be looking, never.
And you'd
Mine
never know
turned
where
up.
you
And-
stood
and-
with them.
And with boxing, they came to one fight, and that was it. I'm at every game with my sons. Every game.
Yeah, whereas when you were growing up, you were kind of like a lone wolf in a sense, like relying on yourself. Became very independent, I imagine, at a young age, because you had to rely on yourself, that kind of thing. And how was that for you, not having that support, I guess?
Shit.
Yeah.
Shit. Without a doubt, shit. We're horrible. It took a lot of years as an adult and as a dad for me to kind of get through it, because
And does it still affect you to this day in some ways?
yeah, kind of. When certain things come up, not so much now, because I do actually feel now as though I am comfortable in my own skin. But it's like when little things will come up where I have to have conversations about my mum, and then I'm just not comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm just not comfortable.
Yeah.
But again, I can go home and I can see my kids and I can see my missus, and it's kind of it is what it is. I've built my own life
And your own family.
and my own family.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still uncomfortable. Like if I have to, it's not something that I'll ever be comfortable and be at ease. I'll speak, but it's not something that I'll
be
be
comfortable
speaking about.
talking. Yeah, of course. Well, no, I appreciate you being vulnerable, enough to share that side of your life, because it must be a tough thing to, sort of, because there'll be other kids at the moment that may be going through what you went through at the time, that have nowhere to turn, need some advice. I guess that's the reason why I'm asking more than anything, just so you can give advice to other kids that were in your situation,
Everybody's situation is different, and it doesn't matter whether somebody else tells you, oh, it's all right, or I went through similar, because that doesn't actually make your pain go away. So it's a difficult one. All I can say to people that, so I'm a patron for NACOA, which is a National Association of Children of Alcoholics.
Yeah.
And some of the stories that you hear through that I can relate to, and it's just, you can have a parent that can be absolutely fantastic and great, and then as soon as they've started drinking, they turn into the devil.
Yeah.
And so that's very confusing for a kid, because they've got the good memories, they've got the fun parent and the nice parent and the loving parent, and then they've got the one that causes nothing but hurt and pain, and then after that there's the apology that comes and things like that. So I understand that can be very, very conflicting. For me, in terms of my memories of my childhood, I'll be honest with you, I haven't got one good memory of my mum.
Wow.
Not one good memory of mum. And that's something that still to this day, like, is a bit gut wrenching for me. Yeah, and so for other people that are going through stuff like that, all I can say is from my point of view is if I could speak to myself when I was a kid going through that, I'd be upstairs in my bed, and you could tell with the tone of a stomp up the stairs whether something's gone wrong or not for me. And
so even
I remember
just
the fear, and I remember the fear and thinking, what have I done? What have I done? So all I can say is, like, just get through each day. If you get through each day, trust me, it will get better, and you will get through it, because at the time you don't think you're gonna. I made a choice at 15 to leave home, because it got to a point where I thought it was going to come to a head, and one of his lives were going to be ruined forever, and I just thought, I've got to get out. And so I did, and it's the scariest thing I ever did, but it's the best thing I ever did. But in terms of, like I said, I get people messaging me, I get people asking me all the time, and I'll always answer, and always try and help people that have been through similar sort of shit. But it's hard just to say it in an interview, like, all I can say is it does get better, it will get better. And I used to there was this, so the thing that got through it for me, you know, when I say about dream, you got a dream. You got a dream, because that's the only thing that got me through my life as a kid. Dream. And my dream was, there were two things that kept me going, no matter what went off, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how terrified I was, no matter how I hated my life, how I didn't think, how I used to think, is this it? Is this what I've got left? Is this what my life's about? And the two things that kept me going was, one was, if you give up, what happens if, when you grow up, you have a nice family? And the second was that people know who you are. Because I was that kid that nobody wanted to know. So you get people and kids at school, where when there's just you around, like, they'll talk to you and they'll be cool, that's your mates. Like, good looking girls at school, they'd be a mate. And then as soon as crowd comes in, it's like, there you go, that's it, right? So it was kind of like that. And so I was like, I remember, it sounds silly now as like a 49-year-old man, but as a kid, I used to watch stuff like, my favourite TV programs were like Miami Vice and stuff like that, and then you'd see people walked at front, or just films, and you see
Yeah.
people walked at front of a queue in a club and stuff like that. And I was like,
You want to be
I want
that,
to be
yeah.
like, I want to be that guy that walked in front,
Yeah.
of, front of a queue.
I like the action films and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it was a whole the whole thing that got me through was what happens if when you grow up, you get through this, you grow up, you have a nice family, people know you are.
Yeah.
If you quit now, you'll never know, and
You'll never have that.
and you'll never have that, and
Yeah.
it's like what happens if that is what's going to happen for you?
Yeah.
So that's what kept me going day after day, day after day. And then that is why I genuinely promise you, it's why I'm 100% happy in my life.
Yeah.
Because I've got a wicked family and I've done all right. So
yeah, you've had a good career.
Yeah,
You've got
so
the family.
people kind of know how I am. But no, when you get that bit, then you don't really want. It's funny when you get that bit. I like it because I'm in a position where I do get a lot of people that are struggling, and I'm in a good position where I can like
Give that advice. Yeah.
But also it's like that you realise that's not the people knowing you are isn't actually important. As a kid it is, but as an adult it's not. I've got the family I wanted, and that's why I'm genuinely happy, and I've done all right for myself, and you know it's legit. I'm genuinely happy. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable if I was to drop dead tomorrow, right, I can honestly say is that I've cracked it. I've done what, you know what I mean. I've had a
done what
life.
you wanted to do in life, and you've achieved that already, I guess.
Yeah, but that's why I say it's very important to dream, because that was only a dream. That was
at the time, it must have seemed like it was so far away.
But it was a dream that kept me going through the shit, and kept me going through the nightmares. So for anybody that's struggling, I would say, dream. Picture what you want your life to be. Dream it, and just keep going for it, and that's it. And just don't stop until you get there.
Yeah.
And that's all what I did. And like I said, success doesn't have to be what other people perceive success is. Success
like
is
having loads of money, and
it's what you perceive success to be.
Yeah.
And that's why I can say, you know, I've cracked it.
Yeah. No, that's really commendable. You know, I really applaud that, David. You know, thank you for sharing that with us. You know, I really appreciate that. And I guess, are you still dreaming to this day? Are there still things that you want to accomplish to this day that you haven't got maybe?
I just want to be like I am for as long as I can be with my kids, and see them like achieve what they want to achieve. And with the fighters that I'm working with, I want them to achieve their dreams. Do you know what I mean? I want my job is to get the best out of them, and because I work with some real talents, and it's about getting into their heads to be able to unlock any barriers that are going to stop them from like expressing those talents in a ring, because they're very good fighters and they're improving all the time. The work that we do in the gym, they're improving all the time. I just got to get them to express themselves and not put no brakes on.
Yeah.
And if they achieve their dreams, if they retire and they're happy with what they've achieved in their careers, then I've cracked it. That's it, because they only have one career, so they've got to make that work for them in what they're wanting to do, you know.
And when you take on fighters, is there anything that you look for in particular? Do you see potential in certain people more than others, or what is it?
It's not just that. I mean, funny thing is, we were talking about it this morning in the gym. I said no to every one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I don't define myself as I'm a boxing coach. I don't. So that's why I'm not asked whether people think I'm a good boxing coach or not, because that's what doesn't define me.
Yeah.
I love doing what I do. I love it, and I see it as though I'm trusted by these fighters to help them, guide them in their careers.
Yeah.
And I will try and help them the best I can help them. But doesn't mean that when you come and say, "How can you train me?" I'm going to say yeah, because my time is the most important thing that I've got, right? It's the most valuable thing that I've got, because
Yeah.
the time that I spend with you as a fighter means it's time away from my kids,
Yeah.
and that's how I see it.
And it's got
So
to be worth your
you've
time.
got to be worth
Yeah.
me spending time away from my kids.
Yeah.
And some people say, how can a boxing coach talk like that? That's your job. I don't care. My job doesn't define me. I love what I do, but it will always come second
Yeah.
to my kids.
Of course.
And
yeah.
so if I'm training you, you better know that I value you not just as a prospect, as somebody that I want to spend my time away from my kids from.
Yeah.
And it's not just the time in the gym, it's the time when we go away to fight week. So I'm missing his footballing, her DJing, just being around.
Yeah.
Right? I value you that much that I'm willing to spend time away from my kids. So it's not just, are you a good fighter? Because I've turned down some really good fighters to train.
Yeah.
And it's because it's not just about, once I had a world champion, I ticked all my boxes. I wanted, as a coach, when I get into it, because I wanted to win a British title, Commonwealth title, European title, world title.
Yeah, all the big ones.
I want to get all the titles as a fighter. I want to win those
Each
fights.
one.
And I did. And once we got a world title, then for me, pressure's off. That's it. Now now I'm in a position where I want to choose. I'll choose who I want to work with, and I'll choose if it's right for me, if it's right for them. And they also have to be good people. They also have to be where they're cool around my kids, and because they're part of my family. My fighters are part of my family. You know, they're where, you know, like I said, my boy will come on training camps. He'll come into the gym. He'll do videography. He'll do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, so they have to be decent people. You know, even like people were shocked, but Derek Chisora, absolute diamond with my kids. My kids love him.
Yeah.
My daughter calls him Uncle Derek. You know,
Yeah.
and he was great with Theo. He's still, you know, it rings up and he'll, as a kid's first thing, that's Derek Chisora, who everybody's scared of, and he's this big monster.
Yeah.
You know,
And he asks about your kids.
and that's how he is. Bellew was great with my kids. You know, so he sees my daughter now. Everything all right? Boyfriend treating you all right? You know, if you're in, that's what I'm saying. Is all my fighters, they're a part of the family. They know my kids. They know everything.
Yeah.
You know, and that's,
they are family to you.
Yeah, and that's why I've got to value you to bring you in.
Yeah.
And that I've got to think you're like my kind of person. My kind of person where
I was going to say, what are those characteristics, I guess?
We go away and you can just be quiet in front of each other. Yeah. You know, it's not that nonsense where you just have to talk for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I don't need that sort of stuff in my life. I don't want to be feeling awkward. You just need to get on with people and just need to gel, and that's how they are. And I've said no to every one of them, and then I've eventually started to say, all right, I'll meet you, and then I meet you, and if I like you, I'm like, go on, I'll help you. That's it. And that's how it's been.
Exactly, and that it's gone that way with each fighter, pretty much. Each one.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. So I guess moving on from the highs, I looked into something with Jerome Wilson, who suffered, obviously, a very low point in your career, I imagine that was.
That's what I was saying earlier on.
I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about that in more detail, I guess. Like, how did that affect you in terms of your career? Obviously, you stuck at it, and it didn't hold you back.
Well, I didn't stick at it. That's just it. I promoted a few, like a handful of shows after that, and then I jacked in promoting. Yeah. Because it kind of like, it's that's why I said I don't like promoting.
Yeah. And this happened when you was a promoter, like you just said.
I promoted the show that he got injured on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from that, you was just like, not for me. I'd rather coach. Yeah. Have these amazing people that you've just talked about and go from there. Yeah. Amazing. So, what have been some of your fighters' highs and lows from the gym, would you say?
Like I said, Bellew winning world titles, Jordan Gill winning the European. He won a Commonwealth. Ryan Rose winning European, British. Jay McDonald winning his world title fights in America. They're the big highs, I think, really.
Yeah, that stand out.
Yeah, they don't get much bigger than that, to be honest.
No, of course, I can imagine. So, do you have any of your fighters on like strict diets or anything like that?
That's part. Every fighter's on a strict diet. There are, we have a nutritionist, so everything's monitored. They have a certain plan. For sparring days, they can, they'll fuel up a little bit more to have the energy for sparring. But other than that, yeah, they're all on diets. The good livers, the professional boxers, where they don't balloon up in between weight, so they ain't got a lot of weight to shift. A lot of fighters do that.
Yeah.
But these are a good bunch. The smart fighters, they know that that's only going to be detrimental to the career, so they are easy to manage in that sense. But yeah, they've got their own individual plans.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, what does like the training look for them? What advice do you give them for training, eating right, that kind of thing? Like, how do you get them ready for a fight?
It's a little bit more complex than just explaining in an interview. Each fighter, it depends on the style,
and they're so different. Each one's so different.
So we'll do different. A certain combination might work for you, but it won't work for him.
Of course, that makes sense.
So it depends on how they are, but yeah, it's hard work.
I can imagine.
It's hard work, and then when you're thinking, the fighting bit's the easy bit, because they'll do the training, and that involves the footwork, involves the bag work, involves the pads, and the sparring. Then the S&C coaching while they're dieting, and the sparring like a couple of times a week, and the fight's like max 36 minutes.
Yeah.
So the fight's the easy bit, and it's the bit that you see,
preparation,
and it's the bit that you judge them on. It's all about trying to get them to do what they do in a gym environment on fight night under the lights, with all the eyes watching, and with the pressure of what it means to win and what it means to lose,
and be comfortable with that. And know what's to come of all that. So I guess my next question would be, what are your hopes for the new year? What would you like to accomplish for 2024? How does that look for you?
I've got a young stable. They're all young. The oldest is Hopi Price. He's just turned 24.
Yeah.
I've
heard of him.
Yeah, he's WBA number 12 in the world. He's manager for the British title next, but he's just coming off. He's just recovering from a big hand operation. It's the operation where they remove a piece of bone from your hip, fuse it to your hand.
Yeah.
So he had to get, like, literally first 6 weeks mobility wasn't there at all, and he's just started getting back. So it's his second week back in the gym now. So it's still only one-handed. Can't punch with his left hand yet. So we're training with one hand with him, but he's outstanding. So I want to get him back. It won't be until towards the end of the year, unfortunately. Hopefully he gets a fight just before September, and then October he can have a big one. Because he is manager for British. So that's with him. Stephen Cairns, I've got unbeaten in 7, 4 knockouts, very, very good, massive Irish prospect. He's just signed with Queensberry and Frank Warren Promotions. So his fights are televised on TNT. Hope he's on DAZN. Stephen's on TNT. He has his first fight with them on April 20th. So that's coming up. So with him, he's got a big year in front of him. It's just about activity, and then by the end of this year, then he'll be on the verge of fighting for titles. If not, probably just fought for his first one.
Yeah, that's good.
I've got Dan Toward, who is a very exciting prospect. He's one of Channel 5's main prospects. So his fights are all on Channel 5 live. He's unbeaten in 3. He's from Newcastle as well, so he has a great following from that. So we want to get I think we're going to end up with him fighting up in Newcastle soon. Newcastle fight nights are great. The atmosphere is unreal.
I was going to say, I've heard it's electric.
The atmosphere, it's like the football, unbelievable atmosphere. They really do get behind their own. And then I've got young Ellis Price, who's just about to turn professional. Just sorting out his promotional deal at the moment. Very, very good fighter. Is Hope, his brother. Another one that's had brilliant international amateur experience for Team GB. And yeah, he's actually, we was in Essex last night. He was sparring with world champion Joe Cordina. So he's already, mixing it in with the very, very best. He's not even had a fight yet. Not even had a professional fight yet. So I'm excited for the young crop of fighters that I've got.
And what's to come from them.
Lots to come from, and so it's a big year from this year.
Yeah, no, that all sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What about anything in your personal life that you want to achieve this year? Any
just carry on.
personal goals?
Like I said, I always say every decade I want it to be, I want to be in better shape than what I was in the last, and it's working so far. I feel like I'm in the best shape I've ever been.
Amazing.
I train every day. Sometimes I'm training twice a day. I look after myself. I have my infrared saunas. I have my cold showers. I'm eating
ice
healthy.
baths, all that thing. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just continue doing that. I just want to make sure that I'm continuing, being able there to support my kids and my missus in what we do at home, and just carry on being happy. I think happiness is the most important thing.
Exactly, that's what every human being strives for at the end of their life.
I think that's what you got to have. If you,
that's
if
the
you don't
ultimate
have
goal
that,
for everyone.
Then it's a struggle.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where everyone wants to be, And finally, my final question would be, what do you want to be remembered for?
What do I remember for?
It could be literally anything.
I'm genuinely not bothered. As long as I'm a good dad that works his bollocks off. That's it. That's what I am. I'll people say, "Oh, how do you fit all what you're doing in a day?" It's 24 hours in a day. It's 24. Just manage your time and prioritize what's important. And so, I don't train more than 5 fighters at once. I'll never train more. So you have these gyms where people have got loads and loads of fighters. I used to have loads and loads of fighters when I was younger, but then when my daughter, she was about 6.5. My son was a baby, like as in just born. I never saw him, and I would only see her to say goodnight to. That's not been the life that I wanted to live. So I cut down on what I'm doing work-wise, and I was like, okay, I'll have to make it work. That's it. And so it was a struggle. It was a struggle for a while, but I've always said I'll never train more than 5 fighters, because with 5 fighters, I can be done for the school run. And so I'm done school run, and then from school run, whatever the kids need, I'm around. And that for me is why I'm happy, because I love what I do at work, but then it doesn't stop me from doing what I need to do at home. And like I said, I chase happiness, not success.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying everybody should be like that. I'm saying it works for me. All I'm saying is do what works for you, whatever you're happy with. If you're happy working 24 hours a day, fine. I'm not judging. I'm not saying you should do, don't do that. I'm saying fine, but I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I will live my life that takes me down that road, and I will look after myself because I want to be that active dad for as long as I can be. And so I do things like that people are like, well, why did you do that then? It's because I know it'll keep me active for longer. And I'm not asked what anybody else thinks. I do, I do crazy shit like running backwards and stuff like that for my mobility, for a brain, for injuries. And people look at you and think, what are you doing? I'm not really asked, because I know what it's doing for me. I'm in the best shape I've ever been at 49, at almost 49. And I'm talking about including of when I was a fighter. Because I'm smarter now and I'm doing things that are better.
You wouldn't have done back then,
Because it's education. I'm always studying like neuroscience and everything about the body and things like that. So you learn more the more you study, the more you learn. And then the more you adapt into your own life, and it helps you to do things that you want to do for longer. And that's how I see things.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to be. It's a good way to, envision things. And is there any fights that you're looking forward to watching? Any upcoming fights?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
List them all. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Bivol versus Bertabiev fight over in Saudi on June the 1st. The undercard of that's got the Matchroom versus versus Frank Warren 5v5. I'm really looking forward to that show. There's Fury against Usyk, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Boxing's in a good place at the moment. A lot of big fights are happening. A lot of excitement. I've just come back. Recently I was over at Saudi commentating on the AJ fight for Sky.
Yeah, I saw that
when he fought over there. That was an experience. But yeah,
do you like commentating on Sky Sports?
Yeah, I love working for Sky. I've worked for Sky now. I think it's about 8 years. Kel versus Golovkin was the first show I worked on. And I've done some big fights. I worked the Kell Brook versus Amir Khan fight. I worked Canelo versus Jacobs out in Vegas. So I've done some good shows for Sky. I love working with them. It's the guys behind the scenes, all the production staff, the camera guys, all them. They're all brilliant. They're all friends, and I really enjoy what. Like I said, I'm lucky. I enjoy what I do. There's nothing that I do that I don't enjoy doing. To be fair, I'm at that point. I won't do something if I'm not gonna enjoy it. I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky.
Amazing. And is there, before we finish up, of course, is there any quotes that you like, anything that stands out, or any final things you'd like to say?
I'm not big on quotes as such. No, not really. No, I just think
be happy. I think that's
chase happiness, not success. That's how I kind of try and live it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many successful people unhappy. So many people that have achieved everything.
And they're like, where do I go now?
Titles, footballers that have won all this, and then you look at their personal lives, you look at what they do. Businessmen, multi-millionaires jumping out of office windows and stuff like that. That's when you look at them on the outside, they're so successful. What they're doing? Why aren't they happy? Ask the question about happiness first. Chase the happiness, and then it doesn't matter. But that's why you have, there's people that have got nothing materialistic. They've got nothing. They live in a little house that you'd look at and say, oh, they've got nothing, and they're the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
Because their life's based on happiness. And I've seen that. I'm fortunate to know a couple of people that, and the first, I knew him for 4 or 5 years, and then I once went round to the house for a bit of food, and I saw him. I saw how they lived, and I was like, they're just so happy, really. And I was like, that's what it's about, And I'm like I said, that's how I view life. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's how I view
I
things.
agree. That's how I like.
That's how I live, and that's how I'm. That's why I'm. That's why I'm what I am.
Yeah. Well, no, I absolutely second that. And what a way to finish, the episode. And thank you so much for coming on, David.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Cheers.